Okay. Om Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktin cha Tatputra Parasharam cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya मथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरुन् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we honor all the gurus in the parampara today. I thought that on the occasion of Guru Purnima, I will talk about the tradition that we have inherited. And most of us have inherited a certain genetic makeup. So recent advances in genomics are able to tell us by the analysis of genes the kind of diseases that one is predisposed to at the age of 60 and 70. Okay, just by an analysis of something really microscopic. And genetics is able to tell us certain things about our physical makeup. So surely we have inherited from our parents and our ancestors a certain genetic makeup. But what I want to talk about today is really this tradition that we have inherited, not by virtue of birth, okay? It is by virtue of our exposure. One could have been born in any country, in any region, in any religion. And still, because of our exposure to this tradition, we discover the fullness that we are. And how best to indicate this fullness, this Purnatva. So I thought that we can look at the A to Z of this tradition, okay, the A to Z of this tradition. And this is just an Upalakshana. Upalakshana meaning, if I say what A stands for, it's really the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more there, but for now, let's just go with that. So this whole tradition or heritage that we have inherited is really pointing out to the nature of A Atma. It is about Ishvara also, but it is about Atma primarily. And that is pointed out through Advaita Vedanta with Adi Shankaracharya being a guru of gurus. And the blessings of all of these gurus is through what they impart, which is Brahma Vidya. Of course, they can give you blessings for all sorts of things, from passing in an exam to the cat not coming in your path to getting a promotion. But the highest knowledge that this tradition gives you is of Brahma Vidya. And to whom is this Brahma Vidya available? It is available to the one who makes a choice. It's not available to people who are confused, who are indecisive. It's available to people who have some capacity to think clearly, who are rational, who are scientific, who are modern, who may be traditional, who may be religious, but the level of education doesn't matter, but the capacity to make a choice for this knowledge. That is what allows for the blessings to flow in your life. And that choice to pursue Brahma Vidya cannot be made by your partner. It cannot be made by your son or daughter. It cannot be even made by a guru. Your choice to pursue Brahma Vidya has to be made by only you. And that C for choice really determines how you lead your life. And that choice does not remain, a decision made at one step in time, at one moment in time. The choice that is made converts itself into a commitment. It's not a choice like you decide, okay, I want to go on a holiday to a particular place. You go for the holiday, you enjoy yourself, you come back, and that's it. It's over. Okay? The choice fulfilled itself and it's over. Whereas here, what we've inherited from this tradition is the glory and the power of choices that we have in front of us. And again, all of this is made possible because of the grace of Dakshinamurti, the Lord of all teachers, the Lord as the teacher. I may not have even heard of Dakshinamurti, but that I choose to pursue Brahma Vidya, this knowledge that points out to what my real nature is, that is really the grace of Bhagwan as Dakshinamurti. And this tradition has also given us Puja Swamiji Dayananda. So it is such grace that we have been in this time, that he has been with us. D is also for dharma. Say that, this, like the kind of text that we study our moksha shastras, really speaking, there is the deeper understanding of dharma we get only when we come to the shastra. Before that, it was always a be good, do good, or it was about attending a moral science class, which I don't know about y'all. For me, it was very boring. For most people, it was. And one just had a set of do's and don'ts. And nobody explained the value of values. And this question, which I get asked a lot, which I also had a same question, that how do you know what is right and wrong? You know, See, for somebody who's exposed to Vedanta, it's really a no-brainer. Of course, what is not according to Dharma is wrong. But majority of the world struggle with this question. How do you know what is right and wrong? Because from one standpoint, this is okay. From another standpoint, that is also okay. And even if one is exposed to Vedanta, this continues to be a question for all of us. But this tradition highlights and gives huge importance to dharma. And that dharma is not something floating in the air or is present in the best universities of the world. Dharma lives in a person and is upheld by a dharmi. And when society that comprises of dharmis grows more and more, then of course the society is following dharma. And one aspect of dharma is empathy, is the capacity to care for another person, which again is not something that we learn in school or college. A young, like let's say a 2-year-old girl who may be playing with her doll will definitely wipe away the tears of the doll if the doll falls down. Okay? And, the language may not be well developed for this girl, but she senses that when I fall down, I cry. So doll falls down, doll will cry. So I want to wipe away the doll's tears. And this tradition that we have inherited teaches us about contribution. See, to subscribe to dharma, even if I am not religious, in the sense I don't have religious practices, it's okay. For me to be empathetic, I just have to release the barriers that are there that prevent me from caring for another person. And the value that has been given to giving, to all that is born of empathy is very big in this tradition. Because dhanam is related to that, all kinds of dhanam. E is also for the experiencer. See, in this tradition, we have enough scope for having all kinds of experiences. And this is without hashish or any drug. So, if you play with some energies, you can have all kinds of experiences. You will see lots of images. You will see that your body is floating in air. You can read people's minds. Everything is possible. But even in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is mentioned that do not allow these experiences to be an obstacle for you in discovering the drashta, the seer. And the beauty of our tradition is that you can have any experience you want, but we will point out to you the nature of the experiencer, for which inquiry is required. All the wellness programs, okay, now, unfortunately, yoga comes under wellness as I see it being marketed. But all the spa treatments, anything that is feel good, just confirms that you are the experiencer. Because you felt so nice and you felt so good and whoa, it was so wonderful, etc., etc. But this tradition points out to the reality of the experience. And that is the glory about it. And when this is pointed out, then what is the kind of life I have? The life is one of freedom. It is a life of great freedom. Freedom from raga and dvesha, from my cravings and from my aversions. Freedom from the many concepts, the many ideas that limited me. Freedom from the many judgments that I had about myself. So I may say, you know what, I really don't have many judgments about myself, but people have judgments about me. But the point is that if people have judgments about me, let them have, that's okay. But I can't let the external be the external, because I internalize it. But this tradition teaches us how to have this freedom, how to have freedom from insecurity. And all of this is made possible by the many gurus. So a guru is not a middleman. I have seen this criticism of the tradition. So what they say, and which is a very convincing argument, that, oh, why don't you go straight to your God? Why do you need a middleman? So a guru is not a middleman. A guru is the one who wields a means of knowledge. And a guru is not a permanent guru. A guru is a relational term. If you think the person has something to teach you, then you approach a guru. A guru is a friend. I mean, it's just another person, really speaking. The means of knowledge, that is the Veda, cannot be used by myself. It just cannot be. Not because I'm not intelligent, not because I'm not successful. I may have an IQ of 170. It doesn't matter. Because I have self-ignorance. That is why I can't use the means of knowledge. It has to be used by somebody else. That's just how it is. And a guru is never a permanent guru. It is just a positional relationship. It is a temporary relationship until you get the knowledge. That's it. You don't really, after some time, you don't need a guru. Then it is just for old time's sake that you relate to the person. You see the role of the guru in your journey. And you also see the role of so many gurus who have been there in this tradition and who have given and only given. Okay, so this is a tradition of giving, and from Sri Krishna's time, who after pretty much the whole teaching, he tells Arjuna, Yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. Basically, do what you want. Okay. So this tradition is such that a guru gives with just one expectation, that the student will make an attempt to understand. Period. Not even that the student will totally understand. Okay? Because so many factors are involved. So I am not one of those fools who will teach without any expectation. I definitely expect that the students will make an attempt to understand. Make an attempt to really understand themselves. Okay? Not to understand me. Because anyway, there's not much you can understand. So, or even if there is something that you can understand, then you will only know that the truth of you and me is the same. So this tradition of giving continues to this day, that the giving is without any agenda. And it is not the giving of a martyr-like or a victim-like mentality that, oh, what to do, I just have to keep giving and giving and that's it. This giving is out of fullness. So all these gurus, I remember them today. So not only Puja Swamiji, but Swami Chinmayananji and Swami Pranavananji, Swami Tarananji, so many other gurus, we don't know their names. And all of them, even if we look at some of the recent means few hundred centuries ago, even if we look at those texts, they wrote for their own clarity, and also they didn't need to write. Okay, this is very important. They didn't need to do a lot of things, but they just did. They wrote, they taught, and they did pujas, they took on padayatras, and so much was done because of this tradition that we have inherited. H is for Hindu. So, of course, we didn't need to identify ourselves when there were no other religions. But now, because we are referred to by the term Hindu, being Hindu is a vision and also a way of life. It can't be a way of life without a particular vision, and that is of oneness. And Sanatana Dharma is really what we mean when we use the word Hindu. And to be a Hindu is not an ordinary thing. because if you're exposed to this, then you can embrace this vision and this way of life, and also uh, negate some traces of Hindu phobia that we may have or we see others having, because Hinduism has to be reclaimed from all that gets spoken of in the name of being a Hindu. And if there is one thing that really defines what it means to be a Hindu, is really that all that is here is Ishvara. Ishvara is not some creature in Timbuktu, is not available only at a particular time. So Rahu Kalam, Ishvara is not available. So nothing of the sort. So this abiding awareness that all that is here, my mind, body included, is Ishvara, is what we have inherited from this tradition. And this, the one who knows this and who has assimilated this well, is a J. J is not for jealousy. J is for a Jivan Mukta. So Jivan Mukta, a person who is liberated, who knows the truth here and now. So one doesn't have to wait until the end of one's lifetime. You know how 3 or 4 generations ago, our ancestors used to save up money. So retirement, we will enjoy ourselves during retirement. Now is not the time to enjoy and go all over the place, and we won't have money for retirement. But then what has happened is, because they have led a very frugal life, now they're just sitting on pots of money and do with it. Okay. So then if I just go to the son-in-law, whom they don't particularly like. So this postponement buddhi is not there in our tradition. That, one fine day I will get some liberation, one fine day I keep doing some good stuff here, and then I will enjoy myself in Swarga. So there are takers for this, okay? There are definitely takers for Swarga. But this tradition also allows for the ones who are impatient, because impatience is a very nice virtue, So the ones who want moksha here and now, they are not willing to compromise. They are not willing to postpone. They are not willing to delay moksha in the here and hereafter. I mean, in the hereafter, they're not willing to do it. So that you can have a life of fulfillment here and now. This is a great thing about this tradition. This tradition has also given us the understanding of karma. And I truly believe that nothing clinches our understanding of life if we're looking at, the events of our life as karma does. So everybody goes through the why me phase. And there are many methods that can be used to deal with difficult situations. There are many methods that can be used to deal with our past, stuff that we regret or where we have been hurt very deeply, or things that others have not done, things that others have done to us, or the kind of people you met, or the kind of split decisions that were taken for you. so much, you can analyze life from different perspectives, but nothing clinches the perspective on life situations like karma does. And the situations that I am going through are really the result of my own choices, you know. So neither can I blame myself, because I really don't know under what circumstances I made certain choices, you know, previous lifetimes, this lifetime, even in this lifetime. Perhaps I was more foolish in my younger days, but given the intelligence I had that time, given the guidance I had that time, I made certain choices. And so I can't really blame myself. No, no, definitely the world is to be blamed. But all the people in my life, all the situations in my life are because of the choices I have made, you know. So then all that karma helps me do is makes me a very proactive person, makes me an extremely dynamic person, because I don't take choice as a casual matter. Gone are those days when a choice is a casual affair. It's not. And karma really helps me to do that. And so many people just discover so much shanti when they look at their life from the standpoint of karma, punya, papa, etc. This is the tradition that has analyzed love in a very sophisticated way. There is no other tradition that has such a deep, sophisticated understanding of love. That love is not that love is not a verb; it is a noun. You know, and that, really speaking, who we love the most is ourselves, and there's nothing wrong about it. This is how it is. There's nothing selfish about it. So it's just that, certain conditions, people, because of the traits they have, they help us discover that I am loving. Because there's much happiness when one finds oneself to be loving. You will discover that it is not dependent on the conditions outside. Right now, for some of us, it may depend on who we are relating to, that we don't have those inhibitions of our cravings and aversions. And so we relate in a particular way. But when you discover yourself to be loving, then the way that love manifests for your partner, for your children, for your colleagues, for your friends, for your satsangis, they will all be just different forms. But you just experience a lot of kindness, a lot of care, and a lot of commitment to their growth, you know. And this tradition talks about it. It doesn't shy away from it. Um, One of the great things about this tradition is Mahavakyas. Mahavakyas are statements that point to the oneness between the person, Jiva, and Ishvara. So the equation is one of identity. And really, much of this tradition can be summed up in one sentence, in the form of any Mahavakya. And there is scope for brevity. Okay, so there's just one sutra, that's it. It's just terse, 3 words, that's it. And then there is scope for elaboration also. Although it has to be unlocked. This tradition has given to the world mantras, mantras, and meditation. So many people across the world, mantras, who have nothing to do with this tradition, gain from this. Because a mantra is not an ordinary sound, it's a sacred sound. And much of it is not really understood. But it works. And also the many, many forms of meditation. There are thousands, okay? There are thousands and types of meditation for different purposes. It accommodates all forms, understanding very well that every type of meditation is for a certain purpose. So there is no confusion on that. People who are not exposed to the tradition will have some confusion, like, oh, which should I try? What should I do? But hey, what do you want? So the emphasis on what the person wants is more important than rushing in to give a solution. This thing that we have inherited also helps us to see that everything is name and form. That we see the basis for what may be different names, different forms, and that's all that we are surrounded by. And through all these names and forms, you have an understanding of the absolute reality that you are. Or if that is not clear, then the absolute reality that Ishvara is. And the one word to indicate Ishvara is Om. Om is a sound. It's not a Sanskrit sound. It encompasses all possible sounds in all possible languages, in all possible dialects, to indicate Ishvara. Because if you were to try to open your mouth and make a sound, it would be If you were to try and close your mouth and make a sound, it would be And O can stand for any letter in between. So Ma, Om. So this word, which has been analyzed very deeply in Mandukya Upanishad, is a word that is there before every mantra. In fact, a mantra is not complete without the word Om. And this tradition has given the world the word Om. And the institutionalization or the systematization of this tradition without big buildings, without fancy structures, has been possible because of the parampara, because of people who have been a part of this lineage, unbroken lineage. You know, one student after another, one guru after another, so on and so forth. A long, very, very long lineage of this Guru Shishya Parampara. And all of this is available to us because of this. There is much outrage, and rightly so, you know, when monuments are destroyed, when temples are destroyed, it hurts, it angers one. Even in Afghanistan, was it? So the Bamiyan Buddhas, so many monuments, structures destroyed across the world. And the outrage is absolutely understandable. This parampara is alive, it's a living tradition. And because it's a living tradition, it has survived the onslaught of so many divisive forces because of people, because of gurus that have been committed, and of students who have been equally committed to the tradition. So it's absolutely fascinating to understand that despite so many divisive forces, the things that were taught 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, even more than that, can still be taught now, you know. And so many gurus, I mean, we just studied this Upadesha Saram. So very recent, you know, Ramana Maharshi. So he wrote this. I mean, it was put together in Sanskrit, originally Tamil. Or you look at Vedanta Sara, Sadananda. So again, 200, 300 years old text. So these kind of Prakarana Granthas, these kind of texts that amplify certain topics, or Swami Vidyaranya, Drigdrishya Viveka, that the texts are no less. They are actually reflecting the truths that are there in the Upanishad. And these gurus have contributed to our understanding. And for the ones who are not willing or who are not prepared, the Puranas are very much there for them. So all the 18 Puranas, in fact, this whole, if you look at the geographical region of India, then the stories that are mentioned in the Puranas are what people live their lives by. So that's, I mean, at least once upon a time, that used to be the stuff of bedtime stories. It was not about Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel. Not that anything's wrong with it, but we want to add. You know, now we have to talk about adding our own stories, you know, adding the whole narrative of what we have inherited in our tradition. Because there is no dearth of action in any of these Puranas, really speaking. And then this tradition also highlights questioning, you know. There is no scope for belief. In fact, if you are a believer, then then you're going to struggle to be a part of this tradition, because you're welcome. Your questions are welcome, because your questions mean that you want to understand, because understanding implies knowledge. It implies that there is something to be understood. I don't need to believe I'm a human being. I know it to be true. And like Swami Chinmayananji was told by Tapovan Maharajji, young man, you have a lot of questions. When will you turn your questions into a quest? And questions everyone can have, and that's a good thing. But in time, those questions turn into a quest, and the tradition encourages questions. In fact, the the structure of every text, starting with the Upanishad, is really it's all a dialogue, and almost all of it starts with a question by the student, and the teacher responds. Sometimes, of course, like in Chandogya Upanishad, teacher says, you please go, you meditate, come back after 32 years. So there are tough teachers like that also. So this kind of encouragement of questions is there. And all of this is available to us because of the rishis. In fact, most of us can identify the gotra that we belong to, which will find its name in the name of some rishi. And again, with the rishis, there is a tradition of responsibility. It's not, if you look at it, this tradition is not entitlement or rights. Okay? It's a tradition of responsibility. That I do what I can. I do what I need to. And I make myself so strong that my strength comes from what I do in terms of fulfilling my responsibilities. People respond, people don't respond. That's it's none of my business. Okay? It's their business. What they have to do, they will do in their life. I am on my own journey. And this is a tradition of responsibility. And the rishis, they exemplified it because they need not have shared anything. I can just enjoy. I am a mantra drishta. I can thoroughly enjoy. I can revel in the jam. That's it. Why do I need to share it with anybody? I need not. But it was done consistently, systematically. It was done with the main sadhana being Shravana. So much clarity and understanding about what is the goal, what is the sadhyam, what is the means, what is the sadhana. And the main means for us is Shravanam, the capacity and the willingness to listen to the Shastra. The tradition highlights Shravanam, not Pathanam, not reading. It highlights listening because it's very difficult to listen. Generally, in a conversation, we will find either we get distracted or we are formulating our response or we're looking around, figures of some other thought, and then we go along with it. And especially if you're listening to somebody who talks a lot, then you just zone out. Okay? Not all of us are deep listeners because we have so much of a pressure to express ourselves. And the tragic thing is that despite us expressing ourselves, a lot of us will feel that we are not understood. So it's really funny. To all the people we have expressed ourselves, are we completely understood? No, not because they cannot understand, but because we change, they also change. So people change, times change, and people change with the times. And that's the truth of it. And that's okay. So this Shravanam is not ordinary listening, because in time it will grow to looking at what is the whole message of the Shruti. What is spoken of at the beginning? What is spoken of at the end? What is the message that is repeated? What is it that is unique about this? What is it that has been praised, etc., etc.? And so this tradition values and gives it importance. And of course gives us that Vakya of Satyam Jnanam Anantam, your true nature. This tradition also teaches us to trust, a capacity that we were given when we were children. We were born with a lot of capacity to trust, and then along the way it got eroded, and then we kept looking for somebody to trust. And only when you start to appreciate Ishvara, you learn to trust life. That despite fear, you are able to trust the way things are working and the way things will work out. In fact, we say that, you know, in India especially, perhaps it's there in other parts of the world, ki sab theek hoga. Everything will be okay, don't worry. Now, you can say either it's a statement of encouragement or of reassurance, but you go all over India and people will say, Ishwar ki kripa hai, God is great, everything will be okay. And that capacity to trust, you rediscover that. Because you become a lot more mature as a person. And trusting doesn't mean everything will work out okay in your life. You trust that whatever happens, it is pure grace. It is pure anugraha. And that you see your whole life as just liquid grace. You just see that all these different situations, they have all contributed to who you are as a person. And given that you have a commitment to moksha, think, all the different streams, all the different rivers and streams of circumstances, situations, they are all contributing to your freedom. And that's a beautiful thing about this. And much of it is contained in our Upanishads, so this vision of fullness, this vision of oneness, the vision of Purnatvam, in a very tiny section may run into 2 or 3 pages, in any Upanishad. So there's nothing to say in terms of the length of the Upanishads, or what we call Vedanta. There's nothing much to brag about, It's a really tiny section. But still, if we're looking at what the Upanishads give us, it's not just something for this life. It basically takes care of all of our lifetimes. Okay, that is huge. When we are talking about millions of lifetimes. And then you see what the knowledge of these Upanishads do for us, then it's huge. So there is a question, should one take notes during Shravana? Beginner? Then I will say no, do not take notes. After a couple of years, maybe, it's good to take down points. And then at the end of the class, you can fill up with what you've missed out. It's difficult for me to give a yes or no answer. See, because everybody's style is different. There are some people who are very fast, that they don't even know what they're writing, but they do happen to write something when they are listening. So if you're one of those people, then that's fine. There are some people who can't multitask. So I will say it's better you just listen. So you do what works for you. Traditionally, we give more importance to Shravana. Yeah. And today, being Vyasa's birthday, V's for Vyasa, V's for the Veda. What he has done for this tradition is really unimaginable. He's really codified, put everything together. And it was a huge, more than 12 years project that he undertook single-handedly. So all these mantras were all over the place, and he brought it all together. It's phenomenal. And making the words of Bhagwan, this revelation available to us, this revelation which is not dogmatic, which is not belief-based, which is a means of knowledge, is the beauty of this. That anybody who is intelligent, who has a questioning mind, who values knowledge, can embrace this. It's got nothing to do with your religious identity. And that's beautiful. You can still hold on to any religious identity that you have, and still, the more and more you expose yourself to this, it is, you're just enriched by the whole thing. And the beauty about the Veda is that it is a word mirror, especially the last portion, the Upanishads, that it's not about another book. It's not, as somebody made a criticism. Somebody said, oh, if you want self-knowledge, then why are these people studying so many books in the Gurukulam? The books are really a mirror to study oneself. That's the commitment. But it was not understood, because the person is not exposed to the tradition. See, if the person approaches the tradition with a book and tries to understand the tradition from a book, then that's all. The person will just get some letters, that's it. So that the Veda is a word mirror, the Upanishads is a word mirror to see myself. Unless I'm a mirror specialist, I don't see the mirror because I want to see the mirror. I see a mirror because I want to see myself. And that's what the Veda is. And so this, as as you expose yourself to this tradition, you just discover more and more things, extra things that will enhance you, will enrich you, which you can share with the world. Because, see, if you inherit money, in time you know, it will lose its value or it will diminish in value either because of demonetization if you had a lot of cash, or because of inflation, the cost of living. If you inherit property, it will appreciate for some time, but if some natural calamity happens in the area, the value of it will go down. But this is a tradition that grows only by sharing, by no other way. Has given us yoga. So yoga is not only Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga yoga finds many a mention in Yoga Upanishads. So the ideal preparation for a student of Vedanta. It's a very, very good preparation because you are not, even if you are doing Iyengar yoga with props, ultimately your body and mind is your prop. So you learn to work with your body and mind because that's as intimate as it can get. And you learn to be non-reactive to your own body and mind while you are pushing it. You learn the beauty of breath and how much breath can do for you. So something that is with you all the time. So this tradition has given us yoga, and it has given yoga to the world. It has also pointed out to us yajna, the fivefold relationships that we have. Our relationships with the devatas, our relationships with our ancestors, pitras, our relationships with the rishis, our relationships with plants and animals, living beings, and of course our relationships with human beings. And that we have a responsibility in each of these sets of these relationships. So this tradition points out to us what yajna is. And finally, with exposure to this tradition, either you little exposure or you are steeped in it, you discover a certain zest for living. There's no more cynicism. There is no more skepticalness. There is no more, trying to bring the other person down. Because you are operating out of fullness. You have no other agenda. And it's not something that, you put on a fake attitude. Because this tradition cannot be protected by something out there. You live the tradition. The tradition lives in you. Anybody who is exposed to this tradition, the tradition lives in you. And the only way that this tradition will pass on is when you pass it on. When you are able to share the many, many aspects of this tradition. Not because you have a pressure to share, but because there are certain things to be shared. Because you are a very, very proud proponent of this. And that when we say that I am this inheritor, this is my legacy. This is my legacy that I have inherited of being a part of this tradition that celebrates Guru Purnima. Nowhere in the world, is the Guru given so much respect and reverence. Not because it's a cult problem. Okay, some people will say, oh, these Indians, these Hindus, they are all about cults. It's not about cults at all, because this attitude of reverence just extends to the one who shares this knowledge with you. And because the knowledge that is received is so huge, it takes care of you um, across lifetimes. And I am not really saying that um, we need to revere our gurus or any such. I'm not saying that. I am saying that when you live the tradition, then uh, then it is your offering. That is your real offering to the Guru. You can do a lot of other things in terms of your uh, relationship. That's okay. But for the one who is exposed to this tradition, every day can be a Guru Purnima. Because every day you're living the tradition. Every day you are um practicing those aspects of the tradition that can be practiced. And my prayers are on this day that may we appreciate the glory of all that we have inherited. I've just stated maybe 26 to 30 things, from A to Z of this tradition, but there's so much more, all pointing to Purnatvam, to fullness. And my prayers that may we protect it, may we preserve it, may we promote it, not because we want um, self-aggrandizement, we want to be known, because there are uh, many misconceptions amongst our own people. May we patiently share what we know. There's a question. Here I'm talking about impatience as a virtue in terms of, see, any quality has two aspects to it. Whenever it goes to an extreme, it's never helpful. But in something that you want to achieve, and here I mentioned impatience in the context of moksha, that if you really want it so bad, then you will do whatever it takes. And in one of the texts, it's mentioned that the mumukshutvam needs to be in a way that your head is on fire, your hair is on fire. So you're not going to look for something, you'll just go for the water wherever it is to douse it. That's it. So that's what we mean, that it's more of doing whatever it takes and not having a postmortem buddhi. So with that, we'll close. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Swamini ji, very nice summary.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.